Hey, folks. Want to get a chance here to just talk, okay? I just want to talk because, listen, friends, we have our lunar eclipse coming up, and that's going to be in Pisces. And this is going to be a very important one. And the reason why I want to talk to you about this, I just want to slow things down a little bit and do a little bit of reminder work and do a little less presenting, a little more casual conversation about this topic, because the lunar eclipse, that's when the Earth passes between the sun and the moon. And then we get that shadow of the Earth on the moon. Now, whether it's partial, full, or where it occurs on the planet, happens to be where the moon and sun and the Earth are in their orbit. This one happens to be total on the East Coast. It's going to be a total lunar eclipse. It's not one of those partial ones or a penumbral one. I love that word, penumbral. It's a shadowy word, right? The umbra and penumbra. Penumbral is the outer. The umbra is the very dark part. So that's the partial one, right? So the Earth is actually the thing that is casting the penumbra and umbra, right, on the moon. The solar eclipse is totally the opposite because the moon passes in front of the sun and does that. But this happens to be a lunar eclipse. Now, the eclipses are actually triggered by what's called the North Node. Now, you may have seen those on the charts. I may throw a chart in here. If I do, I'm going to circle the node in a blue thing, okay? I was going to try to avoid doing that because I tend to get caught up in doing that stuff. And rather than putting out content and speaking to you like I should be doing, I end up producing graphics and everything like that. And between work and graphics and all that stuff, it doesn't really work out for me that well. I fall a little bit behind. I happen to have a week off this week, so I've actually put it to learning how to actually use my new phone and put videos up that don't make me look like Casper the Ghost. It was actually funny because I use an AI generator for some titles. I don't use them all the time because they're never really good. But one of them was really good. One of them that I did for the Thursday episode said, "From Casper to color." Because I'm like talking about how I was all washed out in the other ones, and I finally had enough time to dig down and dig through it and figure out how to make this look like it doesn't, like I'm not all washed out or blown out or anything like that. I'm still not totally happy with the colors, but full moon in Virgo, the full moon in Virgo will tend to bring that out in the best of us, and a little bit of all of us, right? Because we're under the influences of all of these planets. We have the sun in Pisces, and the sun's actually in a powerful stellium, right? It's got Saturn, it's got the North Node, it's got the sun, it's got Neptune, it's got Venus coming back now, right? We got Venus coming back, we got Mercury coming back. I'm going to talk about what the orbs are for the Mercury retrograde part of this coming up, but those are those degrees that astrologers give that are like, it depends on the body, right? And there varies, right? Some people give like the sun and moon because they're called luminaries and they're the largest bodies that are closest to, well, the sun has the most mass and has the most influence on us, and the moon would be closest to us and therefore would be a bigger influence because it influences tides and craziness, right? Lunacy, another great moon word. But those are given big orbs. Some people will give them as much as 10 degrees on a chart. So if you look at a chart and the planet in the, like say a sign is 30 degrees, well, a third of that sign could be that orb, right? It's 10 degrees. It's 10 degrees. Some do one way, the other way. Some do from the center. So it'd be a 5-degree error in there. Some people do 3 degrees for smaller planets, and even tighter for, say, like yods and stuff like that. You might be only a single degree or maybe 2 degrees of an orb to get that for one of those types of placements. Now, what's a yod, Shane? Well, we're a separate episode, right? 2 quincunxes and a sextile, right? Mm-hmm. Called the finger of God. Anyway, or the finger of fate. That's another word for it. But we're not talking about yods right now. We're not talking about aspects. The only aspect we're talking about is an opposition. And that happens to be between the moon in Virgo and the sun in Pisces. Now, that's the opposite. That's the opposite polarities, right? We have Virgo, the earth sign, and Pisces, the water sign. Now, both signs are mutable, and that's a very interesting thing, too, because I've got a couple theories on these, and we're going to start getting into them, okay? Now, let's talk about the eclipse in general, because basically it's at a very important point for us right now in this whole progression in the year. It's actually the beginning of a new 18-year cycle for the nodes, because how can they begin in Aries? They can't, because they go backwards. So if they begin in Aries, they would have to go to Pisces. They can't do that. So they begin in Pisces. Sorry, that's just where they begin. Begin in Pisces and then work their way around to Aries. Now, if we view the nodes as being one of the most popular ways that we look at them is there's two ways to look at it. The south node, which is where the moon would be right now, is actually in Virgo. It was in Libra last year for a couple of years, right? It lasts about 2.5 years. It's an 18-year cycle, an 18.5-year cycle. So now, with that being in the south, that's the basis for what we're building for that whole cycle. All right, so we built some stuff in Libra, and basically what we did in Libra was we just kind of like said, you know what, we don't need other people. We shouldn't be relying on other people. What we really should be relying upon is ourselves, because that Aries thing is I am, and that Libra thing is, two takes two to tango. It's we're charming, we're doing this stuff, right? So what we're doing really is, when we're walking away from that, is we are looking at, let me restate that. When the eclipse was in the south, when the eclipse on the south node was in Libra last year, we had some things that we had to get rid of. We had some things that we had to change. That moon was getting ready to go into Scorpio, where Haumea was sitting, and that's a new ground, right? That is new ground. Haumea is an asteroid. It's a very funky one, and it's one of the ones. It's actually a Oort cloud object, way out there, way out beyond Pluto, and she's a Hawaiian fertility goddess, fire goddess. She represents the islands. The islands sprung forth from her body, that volcanic renewal of soil. She generated the population of Hawaii. That's the myth behind it. And it's nice because when the sun was actually near Haumea, there was a bunch of... That's when those eruptions were going crazy in Iceland, right? It was coming into Grindavik, and just the lava was coming into the town right around then. Very interesting. You'll also notice it when Uranus is prominent. You'll see all sorts of earthquakes and stuff like that. And there were some air disasters and everything when there was some square activity with Uranus. But we're getting away from what the eclipse is. So our Pisces, that's the final sign of the zodiac. But this is also our point of departure, right? Themes of dissolution, completion, spiritual transcendence, right? Sensitivity, right? Intuition. We've got all that stuff going on. Now, a lunar eclipse occurring here, it's going to amplify these qualities. Because the moon is acting like a new moon. It's dark, right? It's just beginning something. It's the beginning of the nodal cycle. So this is a double strength new moon energy that's coming from this. Now, once you understand that, you'll understand, well, we have Venus backing up. We have Mercury backing up. We have Neptune going to be passing into the sign of Aries, and we have the sun that's also going to be coming into Aries. We have all this energy at this one point, this 0 point at Aries. And this is very important because this is like a transformational point. It's the very beginning of the zodiac. Conversely, it's the end of the zodiac. That's why this is like a beginning and an end. It's very, very interesting. So my question is, what is it that you're ending? And what is it that you could possibly be beginning? And you may already be into this energy, because these things don't just happen on day of. You flip a switch. It's not like it crosses a line and it's automatically, oh, I'm feeling this way. No, it builds gradually. And as we come towards it, you can feel that pressure pushing. It's pushing you towards that point where you're feeling like, okay, I'm so done with something, but I'm so beginning something. Now, here's where the caveat is. And if you've been listening to me for a long time, you'll know that Mars was also retrograde. But Mars is way out in Cancer and happens to be sitting in a trine, a nice, neat trine with both the Sun at this point and Saturn. So those trines, they're helpful. They're useful, even with Saturn being like, oh my God, Saturn, oh. And people are afraid of Saturn, and all Saturn is just doing the work. You got to do the work. You got to pay the dues. You got to pay the piper. You know, bad stuff, yeah, it can happen, right? But if you do the work, what happens? You get the reward. Saturn almost always provides that reward for whatever travails you go through, provided you do it with style and grace. And sometimes it takes a long time because Saturn represents time as well. Mars, on the other hand, wants to move forward. Mars is in the watery sign of Cancer. Not happy there. However, home, hearth, protecting the home, very important. Very important themes of something that we've heard a lot of lately. However, what are you doing to shore up your home, your ability to move forward, and to do it in orderly fashion without really rocking the boat? That's what we're really looking at, because that Saturn is holding Mars back. Now, you may know it and you may not, but Mars, when Mars is in the sign of Capricorn, that's when Mars is the strongest. That's Mars's exaltation. That's what it's called. The Ptolemaic aspect, the Ptolemaic word for that, I forget what it's called. But that is called, the dignity. The Ptolemaic, the dignity of Mars. Mars is exalted in Capricorn, planetary dignities. That's what it is. That's what you're looking for, Shane. See? Do this without a script, and all of a sudden you're like, oh no, what is it called? Oh, no. Anyway. So when we have this happening, we've got this structure around it, right? We've got Mars starting to build this wonderful structure, and we're going to be able to come out of this. Now, when Mars goes into Leo, that's showtime. That's what we're working towards. That's what you should be working towards. If you're working with the flow, with this cosmic flow, that's what this is doing for you. This is a major shift, something you should be doing, something you feel like it's in your heart to do, right here, right in the heart. This is what your purpose on earth is to do, fill in the blank. Because that's what this eclipse can mean for you, and this whole cycle of eclipses as we start to move back through it. And then we're going to see how it works with other folks, how our ideas are working, and then we're going to go into actually how we can implement this and make it happen. And then we get to explore a little bit, and we're going to be going back through the zodiac to find out what our purpose is. Got 18 years to figure it out, guys. We have Pluto sitting in Aquarius. It's a fine spot to be in, right? Now, this there's only one little thing about this. This eclipse actually forms a square aspect with Jupiter and Gemini. We already talked about how Jupiter and Gemini is a little sketchy because that expansion of Gemini's ability to just serve itself and stretch the truth a little bit, kind of like, Jupiter likes that because, let's face it, mythology, not a good guy, right? Gets around, just just maybe king of the gods, maybe all powerful and everything like that, but man, did he get around, right? And not necessarily in a good way. So this square to Jupiter, there's tension because we've got growth and expansion. We want to grow. We want to expand. We want to go fast because it's what Jupiter wants to do. However, Jupiter is going to be leaving Gemini very soon and going into Cancer. That's where we expand our base. That's where we expand what it is that we're doing. We want to become emotionally more secure and just to be able to do it in a way that's going to help us financially, because we have Uranus in Taurus. So this eclipse is going to be a very good way for us to just look at things and do what we need to do. The eclipse actually happens at 23 degrees in Pisces. Now, before this weekend with International Women's Day, the Sabian symbol for that degree point happens to be two women talking earnestly. Look, it's the importance of communication. It's the importance of empathy, and shared experience is really what it amounts to. And those shared experiences can come with deep conversations, some bonds, right? Bonding. However, we're also going to be stirring up some feminine energy. We saw it on International Women's Day all around the world. This is what we're seeing. We're seeing it's just not enough, right? There's so much out there, but so little coming to everybody. It's not enough. And this is going to be the message that you're going to start hearing over and over again as Pluto gets further and further into Aquarius. Last time Pluto was in Aquarius, we had a little thing called the French Revolution going on. It was just after the American Revolution, so there were kings just everywhere. There were just no longer kings. We have wannabe kings, you could call it that. Not going to politicize it, don't want to do it. Pluto in Aquarius, though, is going to be the catalyst for this kind of transformation. Now, I really want you to consider what it is that you're going to try to manifest for this new moon, because this new moon, listen to me, it feels like a new moon, right? This eclipse, because it's going to be very important and powerful. Take advantage of it. Do the best you can with it. We are making a shift. And you'll see it over the 20 years that Pluto is going to be in Aquarius. And this marks kind of the beginning of that process, too, because think about it, it's the beginning of an 18-year cycle. It's going to follow almost, within 2 years of Pluto being in Aquarius. Pluto's going to be in Aquarius for about 20 years. We need to just focus on that and get what we're doing underway. And for us personally, yeah, you're responsible for yourself. I'm responsible for me. That's where we're headed with this. This is what this eclipse means. Now, I was thinking I was going to do it for different signs, but I'm way over right now. And it's not really anything that you can put towards a sign, because you would have to look at it and say, oh, well, how do I feel about creativity? How would I feel about my intuition? Put it this way. If you are a water sign, say like a Scorpio, a Cancer, or a Pisces, you're going to feel very good you're going to feel empowered with this. You're going to feel very much like, oh, I got this. Now, if you're an earth sign, this is going to help you in a way, because it's got there's some depth to it. There's some good feelings to this, and you can build on those. Taurus, you can actually, you're feeling this opportunity to be able to make some money. Capricorn, you're feeling this because it's like you had Pluto in your sign for so long, and now you're just coming out of it, and you're just like, wow, I can think and move, and all of a sudden I feel like I have options. Now, on the other side, we have Virgo, who's opposing this. Now, are opposites really that bad? Not where Virgo's concerned. Not where... You have to remember that the mutable signs, Pluto, Gemini... Pluto, listen to me. Virgo, Gemini, Sagittarius, and Pisces are all adaptable signs. They all can be able to get along. They just want to... They're that point where the seasons are changing, and they know the change is coming. And they don't fight the change. The fixed signs, the signs before them, they don't want to change. And the signs before that, they are the change. So Cancer, Mars in Cancer, may not like the fact that it's watery, may not like the fact that it's like home and defensive based, but that energy for it, that matches. That's a matching kind of energy. just want you to know that when you understand this stuff, it's not that it's a magic bullet or anything like that. I'm not telling you what the future is. I'm just telling you directions that the energy and the flow of the universe is actually heading in, and how this can be a moment to really help you put an end to something and get into something totally new. And you're probably already going through that right now. And what's coming is better, because it's the start of a new cycle. And it's a new cycle where you're going to step into the person that you really want to be. It's your choice. It's your choice. So make the choice. Be the light. Appreciate and love every single one of you. Thank you so much for listening. Happy astrocatting.